Alrighty. There we go. So, just getting back into some more Oni here. I think the last couple times it's been a little bit slow getting the base to a sustainable point, but we're making some progress now, and you know, we'll get there when we get there. Food's stable, oxygen is looking pretty okay, so I think what we'll look more into doing in this stream is getting some of the rooms set up, like our mess hall, which is going to be right here. Finishing some things that we started. There's a few things left to connect for the washroom and power automation. Continuing to plug away our research, and then getting the SPOM up and running. And Cooper, yeah, having to restart a colony is tough, but I've done that a trillion different times, so I can definitely relate to that struggle. SPOM time indeed. Ideally, anyways. We'll see how far we get in this one, but hopefully the SPOM works out. Alright, so we're gonna get some mess tables going. We only have copper ore, which is fine. And ideally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. There. Start to get our mess tables and our Great Hall set up so that we can level up our skills without too much fear for morale. And critter ranching, starting to get some hatch ranches up would also be really, really helpful, because then we stop having to worry so much about temperature leaking over from this gas geyser. The quicker we can make that not a concern, the better. And because we've got power set up on these sides, we can start getting a little bit more heavy-handed with things that we're running in our base, and start automating a few more things and making things a little bit more comfortable for the dupes. Going to put in some lights in the bathroom. It just makes them a little bit more efficient with their bathroom use. Efficiency is the name of the game. And eventually we'll want to switch off of these, having these coal generators as our main source of power, but for now, because we've got the smart batteries and stuff like that set up as well, we're not going to run through coal too quickly. Plus, we've still got a lot of coal left in our starting biome here. In fact, more than we know what to do with right now, so that's not too much of a concern just yet. Also gonna get some lights up and running in our Great Hall. This side we've got a little bit too much in terms of power consumption, so I'm gonna do that. Well, actually, not that. But we'll connect all of this stuff to the other side. Eventually we'll have to rejig that a little bit because this is where our Atmosuit docks and things like that are going to be, which all take power. So eventually we'll have to reconsider what we have set up to each power grid, but for now I feel pretty okay with the way we've got things set up. We'll get some of our research going here. Smart storage will be great. Hoping to get a few more dupes under our employ here. We're only at 5 and we're about 40 cycles in. Maybe there'll be a nice one here. I think I honestly might take Senna here. I just need to remember who we've got. So yeah, we're gonna take this dupe here. They're gonna become our mechatronics engineer, and they'll be able to do all of our installing all of the automation and like transport rails and things like that. So we'll name them alerts just for fun. And then having things like increased construction is super helpful for that actually, because they need construction skill, otherwise it takes forever to build things. And the decreased machinery, we're going to work that off. Having +9 makes them a +6 already, and they'll work through that pretty quickly. So we'll bring alerts in, and we'll get them starting with tinkering, which is already going to offset most of the penalty that they have. And set up their schedule. So we'll move alerts down here. And then set their priorities as well. So their operating is going to be their top priority. And then building is going to be not a priority, but we want them to focus on it when we want them to focus on it. And then yeah, we'll install a auto sweeper above this. That'll make sure that these generators are always fed and not reliant on dupes. And then we'll probably install one down here as well to make sure that the carbon skimmer and that water sieve are always stocked and running. Kuba, it really, how many dupes do I usually plan for? It really depends on the run, how I'm feeling with how, I guess like with the base layout, with food and stuff like that, but I'm usually really picky when it comes to dupes coming in, and the reason for that is typically when you bring in new dupes, there's a lot of additional you know, like considerations that you need to make for them. Like you need to make sure that you've got food, that you've got enough oxygen, that you've got enough bathroom space and stuff like that. So usually to just stop myself from worrying too much about that, I'll just kind of take them as they come. But I don't usually have a specific number in mind. I'm typically only running like, you know, 10 or 15 in the first like 100 or 150 cycles. And once we get critter ranching and get some hatch farms and stuff like that up and running, then you can choose, or you can afford to be a little bit less picky. But I typically keep it pretty lean for as long as I can. demolish those. They're very frustrating. You used to not be able to destroy these, so they would just be stuck on the map. Like any of the gravitas, or gravitas buildings. And yeah, I think especially for people who haven't played Oni for very long and don't know the like exact mechanics of the game, I consider myself among those people. Less is more when it comes to dupes early on, and then eventually, obviously, it becomes a bit of a problem with just having too many. Like when you've expanded the base out as much as I have, just having 3 or 4 dupes just means that not everything can get done. There's just too much work to be spread among that few. So once you start finding that tasks are piling up and not getting completed or are just taking forever to complete, then that's usually a sign that you can afford to bring a new dupe in. Alright, let's start skilling up our dupes so that we can start farming. Gandalf, we're gonna give them, start with rocket piloting so that we can get our athletics up. We don't have our Great Hall yet, so that's going to boost us up a little bit, so I can afford to get them close to the morale break-even point without worrying too much about going over. We'll start getting improved carrying for everybody else. You basically want to get into this tree here before you get Atmo suits going, just because if they don't have exosuit training, they wear down exosuits faster, but also they just move at a snail's pace. And it can be really frustrating. We'll bring you to critter ranching too already. And Gimli, we'll get you into rocket piloting here as well. None of them are actually going to pilot rockets. Only Gandalf will do that, but it's a mandatory skill. Start to break these down. Let's make sure that our washroom is actually set up. That should be fine for now. Eventually I'm going to run that pipe down into the polluted water here just to give myself a little bit of time to figure out what I actually want to do with it. Oh, Koopa. That's an infectious polluted oxygen vent directly next to your starting biome. That is tough. That is very tough. More of there is fine. I do want to box this in. Eventually we're going to tame it, but boxing it in for now is, I think, gonna, again, help give me a little bit of time to figure out how I actually want to do things. I'll do that, I'll do that. And then, yeah, we're gonna start venturing out a little bit more this stream, and then we'll get Atmos suits going, start doing a little bit more exploration. We're gonna carve out all the resources that we can. I think that these are small asteroids, so we might be able to get to space, or I guess find space up here and then find our lava biome in the bottom. conveyor overlay and everything is ready, so we'll do an auto sweeper here and then another auto sweeper down here. Not super necessary, but it's nice to be able to not have to rely on dupes doing things. Alright, let's get a little bit of decor going on. Some hanging flower pots. Do that and that. And that should get us where we need to be. Eventually we'll put in some statues and stuff like that just to boost the decor a little bit more. But that'll give us our Great Hall. Start this so that we can get our dupes moving a little quicker. And I gotta get my kitchen set up. That's another thing that I keep neglecting. We'll put in bluff briars on, on this side. And then earth leaves on this side. And then eventually I was thinking that this could be a, if we bring in any bionic dupes, we'll toss them in this room. We'll get their bathroom set up, probably up here somewhere, just because that's where we're going to have the room. And then deal with their power bank needs and stuff like that with the spare room that we've got in the rest of the base, especially once we get rid of all this mealwood. We've got a lot of extra space to work with. But for now, let's see. So this is a Great Hall now, which is good. That's going to boost our morale by a decent amount. And then, let's see. He hasn't used it yet, and that's fine. So yeah, once they use it, that'll go up. Feeling okay with how things are going now, though. Thankfully. And yeah, we'll... honestly, maybe... do this. That. Make sure that there's nothing under there. And this is where we'll put our food storage. It's nice and close to most things. It's not too far from the washroom, not too far from their bedrooms or the Great Hall, so I think this is as good a spot as any. We'll pump it full of some carbon dioxide. And we'll be good to go. We'll actually move that one step closer. Wire is gonna go through, like, what do I wanna, yeah, I guess like that. I think that'll be fine. It should kind of just run on its own. We'll just pay attention, make sure that it's, you know, not wasting a bunch of resources on us. Moonlight, hello. Thanks for joining. Alright, let's boost the speed up a little bit. It is tough to watch them move in slow motion like this. And eventually I'll pump all this over to here. By eventually I mean let's just get started on doing that now. This way, and then... There. Get some power plugged in, and we'll be laughing. Yeah, I think we can actually get quite a bit done in this stream. We'll start getting some hatches, just because we want to do kind of an infinite barbecue loop. That'll really make sure that we have nothing to worry about in terms of our food supply. You know what? I'm gonna cancel this for now because I want everything to fall through here so that we don't have any other things sitting in the way of our food or coming into contact with our food. We're just gonna keep doing some kind of silly research and going down the research tree. We'll get some fire poles installed so that everybody moves that much faster. And that's part of the reason why I make these 3 wide. Is just, it helps with, I think it helps with gas flow at the beginning, but also gives you space to add fire poles, eventually some of the pneumatic tubes that they travel through. Just gives you a little bit of space to work with things that aren't just ladders. No, Moonlight. Slow-mo dupes not for the win. They're too slow. Do that, because we're eventually going to build out this way. I think we're looking alright for now. Lots of cool things to explore. This, I know, is part of a relatively new DLC, but I have no idea what it does, so... Instructions and assist. Alright, so I have to find the code. Oh, maybe it's not part of the locked behind the DLC then. I thought maybe it was. I think they must have added it like in some later patches than Koopa, but I'm glad that it's not part of the DLC because that means everybody else gets to play it with just vanilla. We're gonna keep our refined metal going. We're also going to get rid of that. How's everything looking? It's looking okay. Choose a blueprint. Interesting. We're gonna hold off on these guys so far just because they're a little bit overwhelming when you're not prepared for them, or unless you start with them, then you can work your way up with them the way that you do with the standard dupes, but not entirely ready for them just yet. Let's get this up and running. Yeah. We're gonna get some food, ration storage boxes in there. A little bit of a bummer that we're pumping carbon dioxide into just the abyss, but it is what it is. We're gonna bring that way down to like 5% so they don't keep filling it. And we're gonna boost the priority of these so that they get done fast. Because we are certainly dumping a decent amount of carbon dioxide down there, and it'll get taken care of eventually by the water sieve and the carbon skimmer, but yeah, Koopa, they really have been pretty much constantly adding things to the game. It's I'm really impressed actually by the like support that has continued to be provided by by the devs. It's really cool. But yes, overwhelming. There's kind of a, like when you start a new game, there's a roulette, basically, that kind of randomly generates the new, randomly generates what, like end game, or like, you know, random events and stuff like that are going to happen in your game, which is a good way to like make sure that people are going to keep playing your game. And I agree, yeah, it is nice to see developers that care about the work that they've done to make the game in the first place, but also care about their audience. It's really cool. Alright. Hopefully soon we get off meal lice. This is slowly filling up with carbon dioxide, and what that does is just create a sterile environment for our food because we're not refrigerating it yet. It just makes sure that I guess it slows the decay. It's what I'm trying to say. And we'll start closing this up. Because that should be our actual room size. Yeah. It's the little boo-boo that I made at the beginning, making things not symmetrical, but eventually we'll get to the aesthetically pleasing base that I always strive for. Don't have to worry too much about our temperature yet either, but that's always something to keep an eye on as well. Just because it's before you're ready to move off of plants, if this temperature starts to get up closer to 30, then it can really put a bit of a squeeze on you in the early game. Get that out of the way. Alright, AMRs. A perfect critter rancher. Improve carrying. We'll give Hello in here super duper hard digging. Yeah, let's give them all the hats that we want them to have. That's all fine. And then Samwise here can get some improved carrying as well. Eventually, we'll try to automate some of the food, like loading food into the electric grill so that it just happens automatically when dupes drop food off, and our cook can just stay at the grill cooking the entire time. They don't have to take any breaks. Because who needs breaks? Koopa, you don't need breaks. If I know you, and I think I do, you're a guy that goes until you don't have to anymore. Alright. Things are going a little smoother now. We've got lots of hatches still nicely. They haven't died off. We've got eggs inside the base, so we should be able to get barbecue up and running fairly quickly once it's yeah, I thought so, Phil. Once we've got our ranch set up, and because we have so few dupes, we could operate kind of off of one ranch until we've got the space to expand out more, and or not one ranch, but you know, one set of ranches, probably 2 or 3, and we don't have to worry too much about running out of food. And because it takes quite a few cycles to start up and get to a point where it's sustainable, it'll be okay. And that's part of the reason also why we keep the dupes to a modest amount at the beginning. And we're moving water, clearing up some space to expand the base out, which is great. How is our carbon dioxide slowly filling up in there? We're going to build these as a priority. We're going to keep research chugging along. Yeah, I'm just going to go straight down the line, and we'll slowly work our way out. We've got plenty of water for it, and plenty of dirt. We could make it a little bit more efficient by adding like a little pool of water up here that the researcher can pull from, and a little storage bin full of dirt, but I'm not too worried about that right now. It's kind of nice having the research sort of slowly increase so that we're not getting too overwhelmed with things that we're unlocking. We don't forget about things. Let's get rid of all that. Deconstruct. So we want everybody prioritizing these. Perfect. That is a little bit annoying, so we're not going to be able to expand up too much on this side. But that's okay for now. By the time we can deal with this, radiation scares me a little bit. But by the time we have to worry about that, we'll have lead suits and stuff like that. We can find places to store that. We'll have more efficient power systems and things like that, so we'll be okay. And Koopa, it's a little bit it's a bit of a mid-game hump, I would say. Adding the rads in, it's not quite like a Factorio oil or nuclear situation, but basically this gets used a lot in fuel, can be used in power production, but also it's for research primarily. So generating rads means controlling where things are, basically like where your radiation peaks. so that you can harvest. Let's see where they are. Radiation to produce rad bolts, which goes into a research bench that unlocks all of this type of research, so applied sciences. So when we go, we're going to unlock material science research very shortly, and that gives us this material study terminal, which accepts rad bolts to generate research points for later researches. But it certainly adds a different level of complexity to the game instead of just having like the standard research points for advanced and basic, and then the space research points, which I can't remember what they're called now, but it just adds a layer of complexity, makes it more interesting or more complicated or more annoying, whatever you want to call it. But it's definitely something that I've not mastered it at all. Usually I'm doing my radiation research in space because there's like natural radiation that comes down, and harvesting these is a little bit scary to me without having like lead suits and enough spaces to store uranium. Alright, we're getting to a good point with that, so I'm going to seal this off, and this is going to become the main way in and out of the base. So we'll put in ladder system up here that just ideally goes straight up forever and straight down forever until we get to the points where we can't go up and down anymore. And this is where our Atmos suit docks and decontamination things and stuff like that will be placed. And then we'll do a lot of exploration with little care and hopefully find a permanent water source, like a saltwater geyser, slush geyser, or something like that would be ideal. But we'll see. Lots to explore. Yeah, Koopa, the new stuff is super exciting. You're certainly not going to see it all in this playthrough, though. There's so much to explore. It's just so much content that there's no way to show it all in one playthrough. And the slime lung around the outside of the base, I'm not worried about. Like this slime biome, it'll release slime into the air, obviously, but eventually, when we gut it all, it's gonna naturally die, basically, because we'll get rid of all the polluted water, or the polluted water is gonna be siphoned into a spot that is ideal for us, and then the slime lung itself will die off either through not having gas that it could multiply on, or running into any like sterilization materials. Like if we release all this chlorine gas into the slime biome as well, it'll all kind of deal with itself. But oftentimes what I'll do is I'll set up, it used to be a lot easier because they didn't used to demand power, but I'll use a bunch of ladders, some deodorizers, that gets rid of all the polluted oxygen, and then the slime lung just dies on its own. We're gonna 22 degrees. Alright, so that's gonna be hot, or very cold actually. So there's an ice biome up here. Sugar and sulfur and stuff over here. couple slime biomes below us and to the left, so hopefully in this ice biome we'll find a salt slush geyser, something like that, that gives us water that we can warm up a little bit and desalinate, and then that'll give us all the water that we'll need for our spawn. Gonna keep the science going. Let's power this for now, because we don't have to worry about powering atmosuits. Power demand's gonna start to get a little bit stretched for both sides of our base, but it should be fine. No, atmos sensor. Let's see. What's missing? Cuisine. It's not anything overly impressive about these two, so maybe we'll just do Brian. Why not? And it's nice and cool over here, so I don't mind leaving this side of the base open for a bit, but I'm gonna try to make my way over here relatively early so that I can get some insulated tiles down and stop the temperature from leaking into the base before we're ready for it. I'm thinking maybe I'll do a temporary hatch like ranch here. And usually what that looks like for me is I'll do some critter feeders, I'll do a critter drop off, and then I'll do a grooming station. And then to keep them all in one spot, just toss a door and a tile here, and that makes sure that air keeps circulating, but they get the benefits of the entire room, so they don't feel too cramped too quickly, and they're all combined or confined here, so that our rancher doesn't have to chase them down and convince them to come over and wait for them. It just makes it a little bit more streamlined. It is a confusing game. At first, they're Coldwind and Moonlight. Once you learn the mechanics, though, it's not like super forgiving, but you know, you have more time to do things than you might feel like you do. All right, and what we're gonna focus on here is bringing in a couple of hatches, and what we want them to eat is just sedimentary rock for now, because that is going to cause them to lay stone hatch eggs. Stone hatches just eat rock of most kinds, granite, all that, and they put out coal at a I don't know. You can feed them rock, which you have pretty much a unlimited supply of, and they'll put out coal, so you get basically an infinite cycle of coal and food out of hatching stone hatches here. We're going to reduce this by a lot because this is going to be a really small ranch. So we're not going to be able to sustain too many dupes off of this, but it's going to help us get our ranching off the ground at least. And this one we're just going to put granite. 6s for both. There. So yeah, Goldwyn, the goal of this is you start with this little block here basically, and 3 of these guys, which are called dupes. You are not sure necessarily why they're there, and you have to create a self-sustaining base so that your dupes can explore and research and mine and build, and yeah, it's basically a factory-like expansion and survival game. And eventually we'll go out into space, we'll explore some other asteroids, and collect new resources and things like that. There's different biomes on different asteroids, and different events that you can trigger and run into. So, perfect. This is ideal. This is, in order to make a self-powering oxygen machine, which is going to supply our base with oxygen and supply Atmosuit docks, which we're going to start building shortly. Also with oxygen, we need an unlimited supply of water, and this is going to give us that. It's not the best source of water, but it is a pretty good one. 5.5 kilos of brine. And if we look at our electrolyzers, they require 1,000 grams per second. So, yeah, it's not a perfect ratio, but it'll fit our needs for now until we can get a more sustainable source of water. But yeah, I really like it, Goldwyn. I've put quite a few hours into it, and I have not gotten sick of it yet. I have not learned nearly enough about how to be good at the game. So I think it's definitely one that's worth checking out. And going to space does sound cool. Although William Shatner, he made me wary of getting too excited about going to space, honestly. A guy who made most of his living off of the idea of going there. That's totally fair, Goldwyn. This one hasn't gotten stale for me, but again, it's like I think eventually it probably would, you know, like anything, lose some of its luster. But I've had it for a long time, since since before it was actually released, and so far it's aged really well, in my mind. They keep adding new stuff to the game all the time. It's fantastic. Okay, let's see. Liquid reservoir is filling up slowly, which is going to be a problem at some point, but I think honestly we'll just run some pipes out and into this polluted water basin once we start to get worried about it. That should be pretty easy. And oh, agreed, Goldwyn, it is kind of a Factorio RimWorld love child. No real combat, but I actually think that that's kind of a benefit in this game. It makes it, you know, you're really fighting against A, yourself, B, the intelligence of your dupes, and C, whatever natural disaster your base is going to be surrounded by. But agreed. Yeah, Koopa. You're right. All right, I'm gonna keep going up a little bit more. I'm not gonna crack into this just yet, but I think should be able to start laying out some designs for the spawn. Yeah, we gotta get that. We've got to get this blocked in because it is starting to heat up. It's not quite to our base fully, but it is getting close. So let's wrangle up some hatches. And we'll get you, and you, and you, and you. So we've only got room for 4 right now. That's fine. We'll start wrangling them. We'll start hopefully leveling up our ranchers. Will level up really slowly just using the grooming station and doing their general like ranching tasks. That's why when you are spawning them in, you really want high level ranchers to begin with. Like try to go for like +6 or more. And that's another reason why Koopa get really picky about what dupes I'm taking on. But the sooner we get ranching and stuff like that going, the better it is for us. Yeah, amen, gold one. Agreed, man. Look at that. Got him. Alright, first hatches are getting dropped off. They might be cramped in there too. This is a really small room for a ranch. It's only 63 tiles. Ideally what we'd have is the maximum 96, and that lets us get just more hatches in there without feeling cramped, which lowers their production. If they eat more, they produce less. It's not ideal. And then what we're going to start doing is building this so that we move around a little speedier out here as well. And yeah, things are looking up. It's not perfect, but nothing ever is, especially in Oni. I'm just gonna do this. Let's start coring out some of these resources for ourselves. It's all gotta go anyway. This, I of course forgot about, so it's been wasting coal and pumping a bunch of carbon dioxide into the base needlessly. I knew I would forget about it, even though I said that I wasn't going to forget about it and that we would deal with it. Look what happened. Koopa, I'm glad that I you know, have got you into it. It's one that I've loved for a long time. Um, so it's I've had a lot of fun with it, and oh yeah, the heat map is nuts. But yeah, this is a game that I've had a lot of love for a long time. And if I could make one other person want to play it, then I think that is I think that's worthwhile. Yeah, so look at this cool biome. This is awesome. Oh, another cool slush geyser. That's maybe gonna be better source of water than our salt slush geyser over here. Just because um, we won't have to do too much to purify it. We won't have to run a desalinator and have things freeze up on us and all that stuff. We'll have to run a water sieve, but I guess it's kind of the same thing. I guess it'll be down to what produces more. Well, we'll look into that once we've analyzed it. And the nice thing about analyzing these is you get chilly surroundings, which is a detriment to your dupe's athletic abilities. Slows them down and it increases their stress and decreases their morale and stuff like that. But with this, if they're in there, they get scalded, um, which actually damages their health. Also increases their stress and has morale penalties and stuff like that. And yeah, Goldwyn, there's a lot of overlays here. So there's an actual temperature overlay which shows us how hot everything is around us. This here is a huge source of heat. It itself is 99 degrees and it heats up the area around it until eventually all the heat comes into our base if we're not careful. But we've also got a germ overlay which shows us where potential hazards are, like slime lung or zombie spores. And then there is our oxygen overlay, but this materials overlay shows us gases that are in our base or around us, which are also a hazard, but as well as any other materials, so consumable or coal and bleach stone, metal deposits that are around the map, as well as what things are made out of. There's a lot of layers to everything. It's a lot, but yeah, I use this mostly to see what gases are doing because they take up a little block of space. You can see they're constantly settling, moving around, which makes my computer unhappy. But it's a huge part of the game. Like the name oxygen not included is very literal in the sense that that you're worried about oxygen, other gases that are going to affect how you're going to build things, how things are going to be sustained, whether your dupes are going to die. Yeah, it's very dwarf fortressy, but a little more polished in the graphical sense and the overlays and stuff like that. Which I know that people are very high on Dwarf Fortress, and I haven't tried it myself, so I'm hesitant to say anything bad about it. We're just going to do Paku here and kill them all right away. And cook them to make some fried fish so that our dupes are happy. Gives us free calories, basically. We don't have a place for them to live, and I don't really want them living in the freshwater, so that's what's going to happen. I've heard that it's super like a super difficult game and super like in depth, I guess. Get a light over here so that Samwise knows what he's doing. Alright, so I basically just turn everything on to cook forever in this. Cooking the pickled meal doesn't make it, like the meal ice doesn't make it higher quality, but it lasts a lot longer. And it kills any germs that are on it. So I liked who, hear about that. Make sure that I'm cooking whatever we can. And then when you go into this, turn off the consumables of meal ice, any of the raw ingredients that you want to eventually become cooked food. And that way dupes won't eat the lower quality stuff before the cooked stuff becomes available. And that includes seafood. So pacu fillet is going to take off of that, and then we're going to add cooked seafood onto this forever. And Samwise is basically just going to cook for the rest of his life. Oh, that's brutal, Goldwyn. I'm sorry to hear that. That's frustrating. Alrighty. Keep scooping up materials as much as we can. I think I'm going to build the spawn. I think I'm going to build it maybe over here. And I'm just going to build, there's again, I watched Francis John, and he, it's a fairly known blueprint, but it's called the half Rodriguez, so we're just going to build a half Rodriguez because we don't have a very big base right now. We don't have a huge oxygen needs, and eventually we can just expand it out if we need to. So that's going to slow things down so that things aren't happening too quickly without me knowing in the background. Everything else looks good. We'll start getting some more research going. Because, yeah, to build our spawn, we're going to need Atmos sensors, so just keep chugging away at the research, and eventually things are going to catch up to us, and we'll be all set. So let's do... let's do it like here. And then I think that'll be the one side like that. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll explain what I'm doing as I go here. But basically what we want is enough space to put a gas pump. We want gold amalgam, so we'll have to core out a little bit of gold amalgam out of here so that we can build our gas pumps, but I'm just going to try to space things out for now. That. And then like that, and then like that. Way over to the side. And then electrolyzer here, and electrolyzer here. And then airlock here, and airlock here. And then we'll put a gas pump in the middle here, and that's the basic setup for the SPOM. A SPOM is a self-powered oxygen machine. So we're basically going to feed this with water. These electrolyzers produce oxygen and hydrogen when you feed them with water and a little bit of power. And what we do is the oxygen is going to sink down to the bottom here. The hydrogen is going to rise up to the top over the top here. So when we put another gas pump in here for the hydrogen, and these, I think, produce enough oxygen or produce enough hydrogen for one, like a little bit less than one hydrogen generator running at full tilt. So we have two of these. We have one pump each for oxygen. That's going to pump that out into our base here and fill up our Atmo suits and fill up our base with unlimited oxygen. So long as there's water supplying these two, we'll have a hydrogen generator up here and a storage tank for excess hydrogen that is going to get sucked up by this gas pump that we'll put up here. And that's going to keep this system powered infinitely. Or ideally infinitely, unless I don't set it up right, which is always a very real possibility. So we'll do that for now, but eventually we're going to want to that. And then we'll do that. And then we'll wait until the other stuff's built. But we do need to get gold amalgam first, and we'll need to build our hydrogen generators and our gas pumps out of gold amalgam because it has a the electrolyzers heat up with copper ore until a point of 75 degrees Celsius, and then they start taking damage and melt. Gold amalgam adds an extra 50 degrees onto that, so when they pump out heat or any like type of hot water, as long as the or hot air, as long as the water fed into them is less than 70 degrees, it should stay below 75 or below whatever our gold amalgam 125 degrees is in here. And the water that we're putting in there is going to be pretty cold, so. Yeah, Cooper, that's correct. I know I don't have all the ratios off the top of my head, unfortunately, but it's basically, this is enough that there'll be hopefully constant oxygen moving, because we don't want this to ever stop completely. Otherwise the pressure and stuff like that in here gets a little bit wonky, but it should be enough that the hydrogen from these gives us more than enough to supply our hydrogen generator, with a little bit of backup for in case we want to, run that elsewhere, power something else. And the oxygen that is produced is constantly moving out into the base, which is going to, the more dupes we add, the more Atmo suit docks we add, it's going to suck up more and more oxygen as time goes on. Yeah, it is a little bit Minecraft-esque. The overheating and stuff like that is really a real like bends my brain a little bit. I really struggle with it, but um, there is like self-cooling loops that you can do with like there's a I don't know if I have them unlocked yet, but there's like thermal aqua tuner. Um, anyways, it's using like different materials. Like I know that polluted water has a lower freezing point than liquid water. Um, where's our or liquid water, as if there's any other type, but clean water, like just pure water, has a freezing point of 0, obviously. So um, using polluted water in your cooling loop, you know, has greater benefits than using normal water, and it's all it gets very complicated in my opinion. There's a lot to think about. Keep going here, and then eventually we're going to get to Atmos sensors, which is big news. Alright, clear this up, and then we'll be able to dig down and continue exploring, which is awesome. I guess we can start building the stuff up top here as well. Start getting it set up at least. So we've got our hydrogen generator. We'll have a smart battery as well. It will have a power transformer right next to it, and we don't have our gas reservoir researched yet. So once we get into that, that'll be the next step. So we're just waiting to basically be able to complete this. We just need gold amalgam, our water coming in, our Atmos sensors researched, and our gas reservoir researched, and then we'll be pretty much set. And yeah, Colwyn, your chemistry background would make this game much more of a breeze for you than my non-STEM brain can handle. Honestly, this game's probably taught me a lot more about like thermodynamics and things like that than I ever retained in school. That could be. There is some interesting behaviors that some materials make, like if there's a tile that has gas and it's blocked in like this, I can have my dupes just build, you know, a normal tile over top of that, and then whatever is in this tile, gas or water or liquid or anything like that, it would be destroyed and completely gone. And you can't destroy matter quite like that. Oh man, you're speaking another language than me right now, Goldwyn, unfortunately. You lost me, pal. Alright, so this is a little bit busy work, but this is typically how I operate in this game, so once all this water is gone, we'll keep digging down. The chlorine should sink. I think that there's hydrogen down here somewhere, but I don't want it. Okay, it's over here. I don't want to let the hydrogen out because that'll rise up, and the base is not super protected from that. These guys are happy. We're gonna take some incubators. We're not gonna take any incubators yet because we have not researched them, I guess, eh? No, they're there. Alright. A lot of things that I'm, yes, splitting water into oxygen and hydrogen, and then, yeah, yeah, you're speaking another language, Goldie. Koopa may be able to keep up with you, but I can't. But yeah, there's a lot of things in this playthrough that I've forgotten about, or kind of let go slowly, which is tough, but we'll get where we need to go. Once we get the spawn up in the Atmo suits, it unlocks so much because we can just kind of willy-nilly run around, and as long as things aren't getting into the base, then our dupes are not invincible, but pretty close to it at that point. Oh, gross. There we go. Alright, getting into the meaningful research now, so Atmos sensors, and then where's our gas? Reservoirs right there, so that'll be next. Samwise is doing the Lord's work here and making sure everyone's fed, which is fantastic. We don't have to worry about food for quite a while now. So we can see it's unrefrigerated. Spoils a little bit more quickly, but the sterile atmosphere basically nullifies that. And then eventually we'll have enough power in the base to not worry too much, and we can refrigerate everything. Or deep freeze it, ideally. Oh yeah, they're called dupes, Goldwyn. So it's short for duplicants, but I named them all. I'm a nerd, so I named them all Lord of the Rings characters, but and that's like, I have zero creativity or originality, so it's Lord of the Rings for every playthrough. But yeah, it also helps me because I know way too much about Lord of the Rings, so I know that Samwise is my cook. I know that Gimli and Glowin are my diggers. Éomer is my rancher. Gandalf is my researcher, you know. I can definitely use chat member names, you're right. Once we start exploring some other asteroids and I pull up some new dupes, then I can start tossing out some names, and you'll have to tell me what y'all are want your everyday job to be, because you'll be doing it non-stop, so you better like it. And I am certainly on the airplane facts with Max train. That guy speaks my language. Alright, things are happening slowly because we don't have too many dupes, but they're happening, which is the important part. There's not really anything interesting here either. We do not want the puffed in our base, so we're not going to accept him. And at this point I kind of want everybody to have multiple interests, because once we've got our base level dupes that take care of all the essentials, we want kind of some like dog's body, like well-rounded dupes that we can just slot skills into a bunch of different things without worrying about morale, so we're just going to reject all these guys. They didn't make the cut. Skills, Gandalf is going to do field research. Lertz here is going to continue the electrical engineering until he gets to mechatronic, which is going to be a while for us, but then he can start doing automation like the auto sweeper, stuff like conveyor belts and stuff like that, conveyor loaders that we're going to need to automate our hatch ranching. And things are continuing, so excellent. I'm going to think we'll I think we'll box this in for now. Get rid of these. We'll dig this out, and our base is just going to be a little bit asymmetrical for now, which is kind of my nightmare, but I don't want to mess around with this uranium too much, and it's contained right now and not much of a issue for us. But as soon as I break through this abyssalite or any of this lead, then it is going to quickly become an issue. Gold, when you've got so much time to think about what you want your dupe to do. We're quite far from space exploration, unfortunately. All right, everybody get to work working on this bomb. Fortunately, the Sweetles are gonna have to suffer a little bit. That's okay. Never mind how the Sweetles feel. So Koopa, you can store rads. Let's see if I have any of the. There's research. Where is it? Radiation technologies. So there's a chamber here that stores them. It needs to constantly be powered, I believe. Yeah. So it needs to constantly be powered, otherwise you start to lose them. Same with any rad bolts that are in the reflector or in the generators here. If they lose power, they lose them really quick. And that's part of the struggle with radiation as well. Is it sucks up a lot of power, and it's you have to make sure that it constantly has supplies. All right. Next, we're doing our gas reservoir. That's kind of one of the last. We want that there. We want that there. Also gonna add a bunch of atmo sensors. I think this is maybe kind of unnecessary, but it's something that I like to do. Add atmo sensors to just above our oxygen diffusers, and that way when they hit a certain pressurization, they will stop trying to pump out oxygen and waste algae or power and overload our circuits. And radioactive material storage, Koopa, I do not know. That is why I'm afraid of breaking this open. I don't think I'd want to store it in the base anywhere. I'd probably plop it up somewhere in space, but I don't know I don't know how, oops, that's not the right area. Power bank, research reactor. I think they just emit rad. So I think as long as you put it in a space that you're comfortable with radiation leaking out, like in space with where your dupes have to get into lead suits or something like that, then it'll be then that'd be the ideal storage situation. But again, I'm not entirely sure. We are going to have to learn together. I'm also gonna dig here. Just to chunk out some of this gold amalgam so we can build our gas pumps and get our SPOM up and running. So we're starting to run out of time a little bit, but getting this laid out, at least like the blueprint for it laid out, is a step in the right direction. And we'll slowly keep plugging away at other things that we're working on in the background, but yeah. Build that machine indeed. The other thing to keep an eye out for when you're building something like this that is a kind of self-contained or in a dangerous atmosphere is the dupes will regularly self-destruct themselves, basically. They get themselves trapped where there's no oxygen, get themselves trapped where they're getting burned to death, or just get themselves trapped and eliminate their ability to use the washroom and eat food and things like that. So you kind of have to babysit them a little bit while they're working away at things. But things are going fine here. I don't think that there's any way for anybody to get completely trapped. Of course, saying that means that people are going to get completely trapped, but that's okay. We'll address that problem if it needs to be addressed. If and when. Keep working, everybody. Alright, and now we've got our gas reservoir, which is going to go right there. We're going to start plunking some insulated tiles in there. And we're basically just going to close this whole thing in. And the ideal situation is once it's built, once it's pumping out the materials that we need it to pump out, we'll never really have to worry about going in here ever again. Ideally. Yeah, I think we've got it built right. You do spy reef fibers, Cooper, and we need them for Atmos suits, so bully for us. Yeah, dupes. As much as they're your ally, they're also your enemy. That is the truth of the game. Alright. Kind of gotten lucky that this hasn't like baked everything around it. It's oh. teleporter. We've been really slow to get to this and address anything. This, we're gonna say activate if it's below, let's say like 1250, or let's say 1500 for now, just because I feel I only have 2 of them in the base, so I don't want the rest of the base to become too depressurized. So yeah, we'll say less than 1500, it'll deactivate, and this will just stop them from deactivating, or from activating unnecessarily. And again, I think it's probably a little bit overkill, but I'm okay with that. I don't need too much of this stuff at the bottom just yet. Let's get into hazard protection just to make sure that we've got it for when we need it. Basically just trying to expand the amount of the map that we can see, and pick up any materials along the way. The name of the game right now. And yeah, Koopa, I skip oxygen masks, especially on this like Terra asteroid. See? Glowing. Awful. But I just skipped them because before Atmos suits, like there's not really any situation where you really require them. There's other planets that have like, you know, a ton of hazards on them like right away. So if you're starting on a planet that's more hazardous than this one, then I think oxygen masks right off the hop are probably a little bit more necessary. But for this one, I think it's pretty easy to just brutal. Go straight to Atmos suits instead. Still pretty cool on this side, which is nice. I'm not really sure why, because this is all cased in with abyssalite, and this is a fairly hot biome. But I'm not going to complain about it. New blueprints. What do we have in terms of a... We just have Aamir as a rancher, but this is not a particularly strong rancher. And they have decreased agriculture, which isn't going to be too much of an issue at the beginning, but actually, we might bring in Theoden. He's not going to do much. Actually, no. Let's bring in Theoden. He's not going to do much digging, but researching the extra science is going to make sure that he levels up his attributes a little bit faster, and we are going to want another rancher eventually, so having someone else with an interest in ranching is helpful. So we'll bring him in. We're going to stick him. He can stay on this schedule because we've got our 4 bathrooms, and then bumping his priorities. We're going to make sure that he ranches and farms. Yeah, we don't want him farming. Let's leave him from that. Aemir can do that for now. Everything else is fine. But yeah, he's going to be focused pretty much solely on ranching for us. Alright. Gimli is going to do suit sustainability. Samwise is going to do rocket piling on their way to suit sustainability, and then Theoden is going to do improved farming. Grima might show up somewhere there, Moonlight. And how do you think Theoden got his start as a horse master? I'm sure there'll be an Eowyn and maybe an Arwen and all that. We'll fill out the whole roster here. Goldwyn, you can have as many dupes as you want at once, but it really depends on how much oxygen you're producing, how much food you have. Too many at the start can mean that you're doomed. So you want to expand sustainably. I'm always scared of having too many at the beginning, but then it makes your start slower. Like I would say that I have a fairly slow start happening right now, but so more dupes means you do the work faster, but it also means that you need to have your oxygen, your food, and all that stuff pretty locked down. And I'm just gonna carry more. Well done, gang. I'm really annoyed that they can't reach that. I do that even though it's unnecessary, but and Koopa, when you build this type of spawn, you can cool your oxygen a little bit with the some of the input materials. Like if your water's coming in cool, and the hydrogen that comes in is going to be cooler as well. So you can use that to cool things down a little bit. But usually I'll just run the oxygen through a cold biome or up near it, and then I'll probably run it out this way or up this way. Up here, we'll do a little loop with some like radiant pipes maybe, and bring it back down, and then I'll plunk it into the Atmo suits down here, and then the rest of the base, you know, somewhere. Probably down one of the sides here, or one of the ladder sets here. Alright, I'm a fool. I actually don't need to build this ladder. I was thinking that I made this too high, but it's because there was no floor underneath it, so they can actually reach that. Alrighty, so we should be able to build our gas pumps out of gold amalgam now. So yeah, you can see overheat temperature here 75 degrees for copper, which means that it will melt in this. Eventually it'll get hot enough. But with our gold amalgam, the overheat temperature is plus 50 on top of that 75 degrees, so we're laughing. There. That's what we want in terms of setup. And then once this stuff down here is up and running, I'll sweep out all of the debris here, just because we don't want anything that's going to get in the way or affect any of the temperature or anything like that. Same with up here, even though it's less necessary up here. And then we'll start putting in some ventilation piping, things like that. Alright, let's keep our research running. Let's just go straight down the line again. We should be able to get all the research in this fourth section over, and then here's where we're going to start to have to get into some of the applied sciences and then data analysis and things like that. Data analysis is just the kind of the newer term for the space research. So you get that from, let's see, I don't know if I've built it or if I've researched the space telescopes or anything like that. I haven't. So once you get up to space, you can build space like enclosed telescopes and things like that that produce data. These little data packs. I thought we might have some around here, but you get little data packs from inspecting things, from researching in space and things like that, and those are used at a different research bench to produce data research points. Okay. Everything's looking good. And then for these lower ones, we'll set it to, let's see, I think this upper one, if it's above 750, the lower ones, it just has to be lower than the 750, so 450 is what I have typically done. That's like the half Rodriguez setup that Francis John does. And then we'll get some power wires running in here. That's just gonna look something like, just run them straight up the middle here. I think we do that. And that, something fairly straightforward. And then our automation wire for our middle one. I think we actually built, we want this higher up because it's not gonna sink down as fast as we want it to. So I built this a little too far down. We'll move it up. We'll get our automation wires set up for that, and then I think that's pretty much everything for the bottom aside from the ventilation. And our ventilation is just gonna do, we'll do insulated pipes for the bottom, I think. Maybe not necessary, but do this and this. run it straight up, because we're going to run that again up into this cold biome. And then for our hydrogen, we'll run it, let's see, this way for now. And then we'll do gas bridge like this, and then some radiant gas pipes here, and that'll off-put some of the, it'll cool down this area a little bit, because the hydrogen will come out a little bit cooler than, the hydrogen will come out at a constant temperature, so it will regularly, because it's being piped in at less than 70 degrees down here, the gas that's put out will be less than 70 degrees as well, or exactly 70 degrees, and it's going to run through this area and stop it from heating up. It's kind of self-cooling in that sense. I think you're probably right there, Koopa. This isn't the most efficient setup in that sense, but it's you're basically making sure that it's constantly running by making sure that what we'll do is this will have runoff to somewhere else when we need it. But it's going to constantly keep producing as long as it's fed water, so we're kind of bottlenecking it intentionally at this point, and then we can expand to what's called like the full Rodriguez, which is a huge, like I think super efficient SPOM a little bit later on. Alright, yeah, we don't really want these guys because they only have one interest, and anemic is a brutal trait to have, and so is narcoleptic, so we'll just take the free food. Everybody loves an omelet, so. Glowin is gonna do rocket piling. And then a few more things to do before the spawn is fully up and running, but we'll probably have to get to that next week. Just gonna throw down a couple of storage bins up here that we'll set to sweep only, and then we'll sweep out all this area and make sure that that we're all tidy in here and ready to just plug it in and have it go. Smart battery, we want to set the high threshold to like 90, just a little bit less than 100, and then the low threshold can be like literally whatever we want it to, because it's going to automatically be fed gas the entire time, but we set it to 90 just because it takes a second for the battery to communicate with the generator that it's hit the threshold. So then if it's at 100, it wastes a little bit of power, so it just makes it slightly more efficient, or it used to. Maybe they've changed that, but I believe that is still the case. And then we'll plug that in, and that's our self-powering system, all connected and set up. I'll say all standard but sweep only, same with you, and then we're gonna say sweep everything out of here, sweep everything out of here. That gives everybody something to do. And everybody does love an omelet, Moonlight. You're right. I wholeheartedly agree. As I mentioned, I'm a big omelet guy. Everybody hustle. Basically just want to block up this section so that the gas that's in here stays. It's going to damage the hydrogen generator at first. That's okay. Or it'll pump some carbon dioxide into our base. That's also okay. We can deal with that. But we'll try to get the chlorine to sink out of there. It's the only other, you know, potential issue. Although it is almost certainly killing any slime lung that gets into the air, so maybe we'll take advantage of that and clear out some of this slime. Koopa, I hope you can find a good visor or a good geyser as early as I did as well. They usually throw you a bit of a bone on the starting asteroid. It's a little bit hit or miss as to where it's going to be or how easy to tame it's going to be based on like what's surrounding it. But I find, oh, look at all the sleet wheat. That's awesome. Typically, like, I find I have a hard time with like steam vents and things like that, but these slush geysers and stuff like that are a godsend, I think. So if you can find something like that, then it makes the like planning for the mid game a lot easier. That is like setting up the spawn. As soon as you find something like that, you're like, it's time to set this up. Make sure that oxygen is automated because it's one less thing to worry about early on. And yeah, the infectious oxygen vent is that's a brutal roll. I'm not gonna lie. You can see if you go to the star map, you can see what geysers your planet has. So I've got a hot polluted oxygen vent somewhere as well. I just got lucky that it wasn't near my base. I guess I have the potential for these, and then minor volcanoes. Cool steam not too close to my base, which is also really important because those say that they're cool steam, they still put out steam, so they're 100 degrees. So or very close to it, but fortunately for me, not super close to the base, no hot polluted oxygen vent super close to my base either, so yeah, it's a roll of the dice figuring out where things are going to be, and it's part of what makes the game like replayable, I think, but it is also means that you can't necessarily plan super accordingly. The system does also need to be jump started a little bit, so eventually we're going to have to put a dupe on this hamster wheel here and give it a little bit of power so that we can start everything up. But it'll be a while yet before we can do that because we still have to get up here, figure out how we're going to tame everything, and yeah, we can keep going down though in the meantime, and exploring our surroundings, picking up whatever resources are available, and giving all this chlorine a space to go, and as well as the carbon dioxide down there, so that we don't have quite as much cleanup to do with our spawn. And they'll slowly sort of clean this stuff out. I'm not too worried about it being done in a huge hurry, but again, the quicker we're able to core out this area, the quicker we can get our stuff set up, and it's another thing off the to-do list. Might as well just fill that in, why not? I feel like I built this, I might have built this a little bit too far over to this side. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, who? Gimli, why? Judas Priest, that was close. I think I built this a little too wide, which is a bummer. I might have to rejig it a little bit, but that's also okay. These things happen. Honestly, I could probably just do that and that. The bottom here is just a little off there, Koopa, but that's okay. Real neutronium electrolyzer. Cute. Let's get this going. Then we'll get it a little bit closer to that. Just make it a little bit more compact. Takes up slightly less space. Make sure that we connect everything the correct way. Ignition wires, good. There. There. It's more me wanting things to be built symmetrically than anything. It's not super important, but it also helps make sure that the gas pumps that aren't too far away from the Atmos sensors, which are just designed to make sure that the gas in the range hits a certain pressure, which will turn these on. These will pump out the oxygen. But yeah, I had them just one tile over two, which wouldn't have been too big of a deal, I don't think, but it's more a personal preference thing. Yeah, I am absolutely my own worst enemy when it comes to that. The amount of times, Kuba, that I've restarted bases, like I've said before, it's just because I, couldn't build things exactly the way that I wanted to. It's a problem. Continue to empty this area out a little bit, just to, again, give the gas somewhere to run off to. Get that. Hopefully the polluted oxygen I don't care so much about. That's something that I was not paying attention to, and I probably should have, but whatever. That is okay. We could easily also just put a couple deodorizers down if we really wanted to, but it's not necessary. And we could also pump that out. And if I really wanted to, I could pump this out, sift it, run it into the electrolyzer, and kickstart the system. But again, there's no need to right now. New printables. What do we got? Loud sleeper and allergies and building impaired. Not too much to write home about. We'll just take the hatchling. I think that is gonna do it for this one. Bit of a slow, like I said, we're getting things up and running. Slower start to this build, but that's okay. As long as we have fun. But thank you all for coming along with me. I really appreciate it. I'm having fun with this so far. I'm gonna keep streaming on Tuesdays from same time, 9 to 11 Eastern. You know, feel free to toss me a follow on Twitch. I've got a YouTube channel that's linked to the linked in my about info on my Twitch channel, so I'll post any recorded streams there as well. Like I said, I'm new to this, so I ran into some problems last week and wasn't able to record the full stream, so we have the full stream of the first I guess episode or whatever of Oni over there, and I'll put this one over there as well. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Hopefully I'll see you all next week. Alright, take it easy guys.